This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Welcome to Inside the Jungle, your show for Auburn basketball. I am your co-host, Chandler, and I am joined alongside my other co-host, Jase. Jase, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good. Excited about this tournament starting up tomorrow, and excited for the opportunity we have to play here in the state of Alabama.
Yes, I'm really excited to play locally and in Birmingham. I think we really caught a good deal from the selection committee with that one. And if I'm not correct, would we be the first 9 seed ever to win it?
I think you might be right. I'd have to double check.
I don't know. You need to check. I think Connecticut was an 8 seed a few years ago. But check that out for us. Do some research while you're not doing anything. But we are excited about the NCAA tournament, and we're going to review the last few games for Auburn, as well as preview Auburn's perspective for the NCAA tournament, and then preview the NCAA tournament as a whole. So, Jase, why don't you get us started by previewing Auburn?
Looking back at the last few games, I think we left off last time we talked. We left off with the Kentucky game, and we were kind of dreading that game at Alabama, and I was really proud of the way we came out in that game. That was a game that I was afraid we were just going to be down from the get-go, and we were just going to have to be clawing back the whole time, but it really wasn't one of those games.
Yeah, I'm not a moral victory guy, and I know you aren't either, but if there ever was a moral victory, that was it.
Definitely. I thought we started to shoot the 3 ball really well, which is something that, we've struggled a little bit with this season compared to past years. But we really started to come on shooting the 3 ball. Flanagan started to come on. KD Johnson. I mean, he's a player that he's really starting to get going here later in the year, and he's one we're really going to need down the stretch, especially at that two position.
Yeah. This year's Auburn team, unfortunately, I think this is a disadvantage for Auburn, or I know it is. All 5 guys between Wendell Green, KD Johnson, Alan Flanagan, Jalen Williams, and Janai Broome, they've all got to be on, and they've got to be making some shots in order for us to win. As we have seen in the past, probably, 7 or 8 games, if any one of them's off, it's going to probably be a loss. Since Auburn has been playing good quality teams like Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Alabama. Did I just say Alabama's a good team? Never mind. But anyways, we've got to have all 5 guys going and shooting the ball well and playing well for us to win. Otherwise, it's going to probably be a loss. So that being said, all 5 guys were on against Alabama.
I mean, 60% from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I don't even know that we've come close to that this year. Maybe in one of the pre-SEC season games, we maybe came close to that one game, but 60% from the 3-point line. Now, we did only shoot 62% from the free throw line, and that's something that's definitely going to have to improve, because a lot of the times, especially in these tournament games, free throws is what it comes down to a lot of the time.
Yeah. And like I was saying, all 5 of those guys have got to be on. And Wendell Green, surprisingly, was the only one not in double digits out of those 5 guys.
Zep also had 0.
Well, I didn't say Zep. I substituted KD for Zep.
Okay.
Because Zep,
Zep did only play 9 minutes compared to KD's 36.
But that's a big problem that we have. Is Zep is an a liability offensively. I mean, he's not going to produce hardly anything offensively.
But I think that Zep is a player in this upcoming NCAA matchup with Iowa who could be a really big key player because of his ability to defend the three-point shot.
Yeah, now I'm not saying that Zep is useless by any means. Now, as bad as he is offensively, Zep is just as good defensively. Zep is a great defensive player, and I think he could really help the team out. But offensively, he brings nothing to the table. And that's why I said offensively, all five of those guys, Wendell, KD, Allen Flanagan, Jalen Williams, and Janai Broome all have to be on. And against Alabama, Wendell was the only one not in double digits, and he had 9 points. The other guys had 17, I believe 15, and 21. So when that happens, you're going to stand a chance. But against Alabama, it just wasn't enough. We needed everybody on their A+ game, and unfortunately, maybe one or two guys were only on their A game, not their A+ game.
Yeah, well, and I don't even know that it was not being good enough offensively, but I felt like because we're so aggressive on the offensive end, it led to some lazy possessions on the defensive end, especially there close to the game, giving up some easy lay-ins and some open shots.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when you score 85 points, that should be enough to win a basketball game. So I definitely think that they kind of resulted in some lazy defensive possessions. But moving forward to the last regular season SEC game at home in Neville Arena, we took on a very good Tennessee team, a Tennessee team that has kind of struggled the second half of the season, second half of the SEC stretch, but a team that's still very solid and a team that really, to me, defends the ball about as well as anybody in the SEC. They're one of the few teams I've seen that really just messed Alabama up offensively. I mean, it takes a lot to slow down that team, as much as I hate to say it, and Tennessee was one of the few teams that was able to disrupt them offensively. So I would think Tennessee, is one of the better defensive teams, if not the best defensive team we played in SEC play, and we were able to score 79. We got to the free throw line. I believe that was probably one of Wendell's best SEC games. He scored 24 points. He really, like I said, he got to the line. He was 6 for 6 from the line. Really, as a team, we shot pretty well from the line. We shot 75% from the free throw line. But I really thought we defended the ball well against Tennessee. We didn't give up a ton of open shots. I felt like we did a pretty good job containing Santiago Vescovi, which can be a big task, and we were able to do that pretty well.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised for the Tennessee result, just because we had been playing, as we've talked about, not our best basketball leading up to that game, losing like 5 out of the last 6 or 6 out of the last 7 or something really, really bad like that. And Tennessee was one I was not really looking forward to, but Auburn certainly embraced the opportunity because it was pretty much a must-win in order to get into the NCAA tournament, and they embraced the opportunity and made the most of it. And Auburn looked pretty good in that game. Like Jay said, producing 79 points against one of the best teams defensively, not only in the SEC but the entire nation, is huge.
Yeah. And definitely a team that could do something in the tournament strictly because of their defense. Are they producing very well offensively right now? No. But they're a team that, can really win some games just because of their defense. We've seen several teams do that in the tournament years past. Of course, they probably will need to get hot a little bit shooting the ball, obviously, to win some games. But ultimately, if they're able to force a lot of contested shots, they could really do something in the tournament. And hopefully, despite the loss to Alabama, if we can play like we did in Tuscaloosa and at home against Tennessee, I think we could have a really good chance to maybe win a game or two. But that all just depends on our effort defensively, creating open shots, getting to the free throw line, actually making the free throws when we get there. A lot of factors are going to play into that. But it was good to end the SEC play on a high note going into the SEC tournament, which took place that next week. Our first game was, I believe, March the 9th, because we got the first round bye, but then we played Arkansas in the second round of the SEC tournament, and man, that was a tough loss, but I was very pleased to have seen how we got down like we did in the second half and were able to battle back and almost come away with that game. And like I said, I hate losing as much as the next person, and I'm no person that dwells on moral victories, but I mean, the fact that we were down I believe either 14 or 15, I think maybe 14 in the second half with just maybe 10 minutes left, and we're able to just claw our way back into that game, shooting the ball and getting to the goal and forcing Arkansas into some tough shots. I was really proud to see that this team was able to battle back like that against a pretty good Arkansas team.
Yeah, that was definitely a tale of two halves. And Auburn looked really bad first half. And then second half, they came ready to play. And they nearly completed the comeback. I think they held a 73-72 or a 74-73 lead at one point. But it just was not enough. But Auburn certainly played way better the second half. And can I say that I think Auburn really got a sucky matchup for that first round, or what's I guess technically second round game in the SEC tournament?
I would have to agree.
Arkansas is the best 10 seed I have ever seen.
Definitely. And I will say this, as bad as we played that first half, we were only down 4 points. And I think that is something, I think I was listening to a podcast the other day about a preview of the tournament, and they talked about Auburn's ceiling in this tournament because of their ability to stay in games. They said Auburn is dangerous, not because they've necessarily won a lot of these games at the end, but because they have the ability to stay in games. And in March, if you can stay in a game, there can be some crazy things happen.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think that it says something about the strength of the SEC when you have Arkansas as a 10 seed in the SEC tournament, and then you come the next week and they are an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
I mean that's a testament to the SEC and a testament to the strength of the SEC.
Yeah. And the ability just to really, a lot of the times you see these conferences, you see the same teams at the top every year. And I feel like the SEC is a conference where, you've kind of have a mix of 5 or 6 teams that could be at the top every year. That's something that I don't think you can say in many conferences.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But obviously not the way we wanted the tournament to go. And that's a game I think if you could have found a way to win would have really given you momentum to even maybe win another game or two in the SEC tournament. But nonetheless, it did give us a little bit more time to rest and prepare for the big dance, where we'll be facing 8-seeded Iowa in the first game. And let me tell you, that's going to be an exciting matchup right there.
Tell us about it.
Iowa is a team that can really, really, really shoot the 3 ball well. but Auburn is a team that can really, really defend the ball well. And I'm excited to see if Auburn's defense can prevail, which hopefully that's what happens, because that's really what I'm excited to see. But or to see if Iowa's 3-point shooting is just a little too much. But I will say this: I think that if we can score with Iowa, that eventually our defense will get an extra stop compared to Iowa's defense.
Well, that's some pretty good analysis. But I would agree. I think it's going to come down to which team is going to make the shots. I mean, that's simply. I know that sounds stupid, but that's what it's going to come down to. Does Auburn make the open shots versus Iowa's horrendous defense? Iowa is, I think, 316th in the nation in defense. They're one of the worst defensive squads in the nation. Or does Iowa make the shots against Auburn's defense? Because they are such a good 3-point shooting team. Also, Iowa's size. I believe that Iowa has a 6'7" guard, a 6'5" guard, and maybe another 6'5" guard. And that's going to be some size that is tough to deal with. But at the same time, they should be, and I mean, proven, they are pretty slow and have heavy feet defensively.
Definitely.
And we've got to take advantage of that. I think Wendell Green and KD Johnson are perfect to take advantage of that because they can drive to the basket. Now, the problem is, can they get a shot off, or can they distribute it to somebody that can get a shot off? Because Iowa's got some size in the paint there, and we've got to be able to get shots off, or we've got to be able to get fouled.
Definitely. I think a big key is attacking the rim early and trying to get some fouls. Because I do think that though they have the length, I do think that we'll be able to move a little faster. And if we can cause them to be a little bit late on rotations, we can get them in foul trouble early. Or even get them to the point where they're having to help a little bit more down low, where we're able to kick it out and get some open looks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But not looking past Iowa by any means. But if Auburn does move on to the next round, they will likely play Houston. Houston has a 1 seed, and they play 16 seed. I really don't even know who they play. 16 seed. We're looking.
I believe it's Northern Kentucky.
Northern Kentucky, the Norsemen. What a group of what a squad. I have seen them play, I think, once in my life. But so we'll likely play Houston, but you never know. Northern Kentucky may be the second 16 seed to beat a 1 seed. Shout out to Virginia. Virginia, you suck. They got beat by a 16 seed. Who was that team?
UMBC.
UMBC. The what some kind of dog?
The Retrievers.
The Retrievers, that's right. The Retrievers, shout out to UMBC. And they've got a pretty dadgum good Twitter account too, from my memories. But anyways.
Oh, and I did have a minute to look up the farthest a 9 seed has gone, and I actually remember watching this run. The furthest a 9 seed has gone is the Final Four, and that was Wichita State and Shaka Smart in 2013.
Shaka Smart?
I believe he was that.
I think that was Shaka Smart was at VCU. I think that was Wichita State. I can't think of that coach's name. But anyways, I've got to prove Jase wrong. That's just something that I take pride in. When Jase is wrong and I'm right, it's just truly an accomplishment for me. And we are looking, but we're not finding right now. But anyways,
Greg Marshall, I think.
Greg Marshall, yeah. Shaka Smart, Greg Marshall. They sound alike. But anyways, yes, that is Auburn would be, I guess, the first 9 seed to ever win the whole thing. So why not us?
That's right.
Let's do something special. But also, let's look at the NCAA tournament kind of as a whole. And Jase, give me your Final Four right now. Like, there's. I know you've created multiple brackets, but we are going on record right now tonight at 8:00 Central Time. Give me your Final Four.
I think that out of the South bracket, I believe that Arizona will get to the Elite Eight to match up against that team from the other side of the state. And I think that Arizona is finally the big and physical team that can really, really disrupt Alabama. And I have the Wildcats moving on past the Crimson Tide to the Final Four. And out of the, I believe, is that the West region? I'm trying to think. Right underneath the South.
There's nothing underneath the South. Like, if you
underneath the south side of the bracket.
If you go south, there's to the south of that's just more south. Oh, you're talking about the bracket. Yes. I'm not even sure about.
Sorry, the East.
The East.
Out of the East region, I have the 5 seed, the Duke Blue Devils. They are playing their best basketball of the season right now. And I just think that Filipowski and Jeremy Roach of the Duke
You can't
Blue
even
Devils are going to make a serious run here in the tournament.
Well, I have news for you. I'm sorry. I will let you finish your Final Four here in a minute. But the Duke Blue Devils are going to get upset first round by the Oral Roberts. I don't even know their mascot. The Golden Eagles, I think. Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is going to upset Duke in the first round. You heard it here. 5-12 matchup. That'll be an upset.
I think that is a very popular upset right now because of the run Oral Roberts had a few years ago. And I think a lot of people are picking based off of that upset. And I think this is a completely different team. This is also a completely different team that they're facing. A team that's hot right now. And so I have the Duke Blue Devils coming out of the East region. Out of the Midwest region, I have the Texas Longhorns. They are another team that is just really filling it up right now. Really playing some of their best basketball. I have them advancing to the Final Four. And then that's out of the Midwest region. And then out of the West region, I have the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas has been a team that has kind of scared me to put that far. But I just feel like they're a safe team to put that far because even when they don't play their best, they're still able to win games. And finding teams that just know how to win games, even when they don't look good, is something that's huge in March.
So you've got Kansas, Texas, Duke,
and
Arizona. Well, you're going to go 0 for 4 because I've only been wrong once in my life, and that was when I thought I was wrong, but I was actually right. So my bracket's obviously, it's about to be the perfect bracket. And I have Alabama, the Crimson Tide, making the Final Four, as much as I hate to say it. I've got Purdue, the Boilermakers, will match up against Alabama. I've got Xavier, the X-Men. And then lastly, I have Gonzaga, the Dogs. And then in the championship game, I've got Alabama versus Gonzaga, a rematch of earlier this year. And Alabama winning the championship 73-69. I hate it, but that's what I think is going to happen. Jase, what do you think about that?
I don't think you're going to be right.
Well, and let me go on
because
record.
you've already gone second guess yourself because earlier you had Houston winning it.
Well,
and now you don't even have them in your Final Four, so it doesn't sound like you might not be too confident in your picks right now. So.
Well, look, Jason, my picks will change over time, but let me tell you, when it matters, my picks will be right. My picks will be correct. Jase, right now, go on record. 3 upsets that you have in the first round. 3 upsets. I will go first because I've kind of put Jase on the spot. 3 upsets that I have in the first round would be I've got the College of Charleston over San Diego State. College of Charleston is 31-3 on the year. They are an experienced squad, and I think that they will pull off the upset over the Aztecs of San Diego State. My second upset would be I have the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns over the Tennessee Volunteers. I think that losing Zakai Ziegler will hurt Tennessee, and I think that the Louisiana squad is 26-7 on the year. This is their 3rd straight tournament, and I think that they will pull off the upset. My last upset pick that I will give you is going to be none other than Arizona State, the Arizona State Sun Devils over the TCU Horned Frogs. Now they've got to beat Nevada first, but either way, I think Arizona State or Nevada, I think the winner of that game will beat TCU and move on to the next round. Cool. That's my 3. Jase, give me your 3.
Well, I don't have anything huge in the first round. My bigger upsets are more in the second round, but in the first round, I guess one that it's not really much of an upset. It's almost a toss-up is the Missouri Tigers over the Utah State Aggies. I believe Utah State's opened up as a 2.5-point favorite.
Missouri's the higher seed.
It's not really a big upset, but
how is that
I know
an upset?
that Utah State's being picked in over more than half the brackets. So I would go with Missouri. Like I said, I don't have many huge upsets in the first round. Another upset I have is the VCU Rams over the St. Mary's Gales. I think that VCU is a very physical team, a very athletic team, and I think that's going to give St. Mary's a lot of trouble. And I don't know that St. Mary's will be able to score enough to pull off that win against VCU. And so I think VCU comes away with the upset. My last upset is the Penn State Nittany Lions, 10 seed over the 7 seed Texas A&M Aggies. You're holding your hands up like that's not an upset. I believe Texas A&M's a 4 or 5 point favorite. And you know, I know lots of people have Texas A&M going pretty far. So I think Penn State could not only win that game, but they have potential to really give Texas some trouble in the second game. I don't think it'll be enough, but I think Penn State's playing really good ball right now.
Now, I will say, I think the Penn State pick is kind of an actual upset. The Missouri over Utah State, Missouri's picked in 56% of the brackets across the nation. That is not an upset. That is an invalid pick.
Well, then I guess I have 2 upsets.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have another surprise upset coming. And my picks may be absurd, but I'm going with the UCSB Gauchos, University of California, Santa Barbara Gauchos over Baylor, the 14 seed over the 3 seed. I have watched 0 UCSB games this year. I know nothing about UCSB, but I like the Gauchos.
Well, I hope your Final Four is wrong. I hope my Final Four is wrong. Because I hope that our Auburn Tigers are shocking the world once again.
I hope so as well. I don't see it happening, but You never know. That's why they play the basketball games, right?
You gotta believe, Chandler. You gotta believe.
That's why they play the game. But I think that'll about do it for this episode of Inside the Jungle. Any other comments or questions?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well,
tune in to TNT at 5:50 Central Time tomorrow to watch our Auburn Tigers take on the Iowa Hawkeyes.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.